Oh dear. I could just keep the words "oh dear" on screen for 17 minutes and be done with it, right? I'm not sure if I prefer The Timeless Children or Hellbent, although admittedly that is like having to choose between syphilis and bubonic plague. Have fun debating which episode I'm referring to as syphilis and which episode is bubonic plague, comment section. I don't even know and I wrote that line. Pick which one's which and that's your He Who Moans headcanon. I think I had more fun with Hellbent. Its creative decisions were downright bizarre and mental, but at least it was interesting. At least it held my attention from start to finish. The Timeless Children, on the other hand, was so hideously dull that I swear I nodded off at least twice. 45 minutes of exposition dumping and 20 minutes of empty, useless dialogue and pointless characters. That's your series finale, everybody! I remember looking at the time on several occasions and thinking, wait, only 2 minutes have gone by? And yet it feels like years since I last looked at the time. I'm really quite fascinated to hear what any members of the wider audience made of The Timeless Children, because it must have sounded like complete gibberish to them and made them start asking, yes, but why am I supposed to care? Because all it really does is stick nostalgia and lore stuff up on screen and start jabbering about it, and even if you can figure out what the hell it's going on about half the time, you're not even guaranteed to actually like what it's doing. I'm a fanboy who's familiar with all the shit it's jabbering on about, and I was simultaneously bored and irritated by The Timeless Children, so what the hell anyone with only a cursory knowledge of Doctor Who thought, I've no idea. Oh wow, the Master has made the Time Lords into Cybermen. And you thought this all sounded like bad fanfiction before, Stuart? Alright, let's do the lore stuff first, get the obvious thing out of the way with. One of my main bugbears with about 40% of New Who is its obsession with making the Doctor into the most important person in the history of the universe. It's fine to have the odd speech here and there that talk about the Doctor burning at the centre of time, etc., but the more of these you do, and the more we have episodes that do all they can to make the Doctor into this space Jesus-like figure who's so utterly important to everything and who's worshipped by millions of people, the more it starts to sound like fanfiction. That's letting our admiration of the Doctor tamper with the inner workings of the show. Overindulgence in fanboyism can be to the detriment of a good story. It's much more interesting to me to have this race of godlike beings who consider themselves to be of massive universal importance produce a misfit character like the Doctor, a free-spirited individual who's not even that clever by Time Lord standards and who wants to rebel against the society they were born into and go out and explore the universe, than to consider the Doctor herself to be this overly important godlike figure of massive universal importance when the character's supposed to represent breaking away from that in the first place. And The Timeless Children takes this to the extremist of extremes and suggests that the Doctor is the originator of regeneration, one of the things that Time Lord Society was built upon. Yeah, alright, she reacts to this with horror, but the Doctor now being central to the founding of Time Lord Society is kind of emblematic of all the problems I've had with Doctor Who's overinflation of the Doctor's importance in the grander scheme of things, which goes back a long way, it goes back to the classic show. And I kinda totally hate how much we're indulging in the fanboy compulsion to stress just how important the Doctor is. Especially to this extreme. I mean, what's next? A previous incarnation of the Doctor started the development of time travel in the first place? All Time Lords are secretly clones of the Doctor? The Doctor is secretly Davros. There are no other characters of importance in this series at all. It's all the Doctor. I really have been fighting a losing battle against this overstressing of the Doctor's importance all these years, haven't I? Although I do have a right around for this. Because this is all shown via a Matrix projection, I can just say the Master is lying and that he made it all up and it's bullshit that he came up with to distract the Doctor while he started making Time Lord Cybermen. I'm gonna go with that for the time being. For the record, I can see how people like the canon reshaping elements of the Timeless Children. I don't personally, but I can see how people do. By making the Doctor into this infinitely regenerating character, you can kinda make everything canon now. There are limitless possibilities, limitless regenerations. And it's kinda saying that everything counts now, Morbius Doctors and all. You can take all of the unofficial Doctors and even all your fan film Doctors and stretch the timeline out to like 300 and call basically everything canon. The thing is though, I kinda don't give a shit about that at all, and it's only really a very specific type of fan who would. And any members of the wider audience that the show still has left won't give a shit about this, so the cross-section of viewers who will appreciate what Timeless Children does is incredibly small. I've said this before, but canon has never really been that important to me. Some stuff contradicts other stuff, so you kinda have to pick and choose what you believe anyway. So I was already treating canon with flexibility, so this doesn't really do anything for my understanding of the show. And if canon is important to you, isn't this kinda taking away from the experience of canon obsession rather than adding to it? I've never personally cared about what is and isn't officially classed as canon, but if you do, doesn't this kinda screw you over a bit? Isn't part of the fun of canon obsession arguing over what is and isn't canon? People have dedicated entire lives to figuring out what is and isn't canon, and doesn't this kinda fuck them over by trying desperately hard to answer every currently open question and mystery with a one-size-fits-all answer to everything? That, and by expanding our timeline of Doctors, doesn't that kinda dilute the significance of any one incarnation by adding tons more? I mean, who gives a shit about Doctors 1 through 13 plus War anymore now that there's fucking hundreds of Doctors? What's so special about any one incarnation when there's hundreds of them? I was interested in the Ruth Doctor initially, but my interest's kinda totally vanished now because she's not important anymore. She's not some super secret special hidden incarnation of the Doctor now, she's just another one of them. That, and by removing any limitations from the Doctor, saying the Doctor has lived and can live an infinite number of lives forever, this again plays into my disdain for making the Doctor not just overly important in the Whoniverse, but an overly powerful godlike figure, which is counter to what I always thought of as the point of the Doctor. The Doctor is free-spirited and flawed and humble by contrast to the background she comes from, and relates to humans because humans are free-spirited and flawed and humble too. Having no limits sounds fun in principle. I understand how that sounds pretty to people. I understand why people enjoy playing GTA with the cheats on and playing games with infinite lives, but I don't, because with no limitations, with no challenge, no rules, or importantly, stakes, I just find I can't be arsed with any of it, because if there's no consequences for anything I do, I end up in this existential spiral, wondering, why am I playing this game? What will I achieve from this? What will I get out of it? What's the point in anything? I mean, we always knew the Doctor would regenerate when they died, but the 13 lives limit left us with some kind of stakes. That, and this isn't the only explanation you could have, because what if the new regenerations the Doctor was granted on Trenzalore, what if we don't know how many the Doctor was granted, so any regeneration could be the last one? That gives us some kind of danger when it hits regeneration time. This doesn't. She's immortal and infinite now, so what danger is the Doctor herself ever actually in? I mean, yeah, alright, there is that old adage, immortality is a curse, not a blessing, but this still runs counter to just about everything that we've ever known about the Doctor. I do still have my headcanon right around, of course, / me experiencing a severe case of denial, unless it gets sealed up with some other piece of stupid bullshit that happens in Season 13, which it probably will because they set up more backstory for Season 13 to deal with. What is this, the Division? Why did the Time Lords erase that from the Matrix, but not the fact they ripped off the idea of regeneration from a mysterious child that was found on a planet somewhere? I don't know, and I kinda don't care, and barely even noticed that because my brain was too busy bubbling out my ears at this point in the episode. I'm surprised I even remembered that the words "The Division" featured in this episode at all. I mean, you could say that while this episode is answering some decades-old mysteries and leaving us with some sense of mystery with what it replaces it with, you know, where did the Timeless Child come from? Some sort of ancient, mysterious, unseen civilization? But why couldn't that just have been left as the Time Lords? What's the point in just replacing one shady, mysterious backstory for the Doctor with a different one just for the sake of it? Alright, you can argue that it refreshes the overly complicated 57 years of canon, and both the old and new show did strip away the mystery from the Time Lords after a while, of course, but what's the point in rewriting the entirety of canon instead of just, I don't know, telling new stories? Well, they tried that last season and people didn't give much of a shit, clearly. But my point is, the fact that Timeless Children primarily spends its time searching for a one-size-fits-all answer to all of the holes in canon over the last 57 years that could have just been left as gaps and no one would have given a shit is not a sign of a show in a healthy place. The Timeless Children really does out-Moffat Moffat. People were always complaining about the Moffat era rewriting things and becoming overly obsessed with old shit and placing more importance on fucking around with that than actually telling new stories. Isn't the Timeless Children basically just more of that? Look, I didn't like Season 11. I didn't think it was much of a palate cleanser like lots of people did. I didn't see it doing much to take the show forward, and couldn't really see the wider audience getting back into it for very long. That 10 million viewers that The Woman Who Fell to Earth got was obviously a very precarious number. Season 11 wasn't so much a step forward as it was a slight shuffle forward into the show's future, and one that I wasn't that keen on at all. But The Timeless Children is about as massive a step back from this as it's possible to get. And with more setups indicating that the show's gonna continue down this road in the future, I'm just tired when I anticipate it. If you like this episode, good for you, I wish I did, but I really don't think it's the game changer it's been sold as. Whatever it does for Canon is irrelevant here. It's not doing anything new on its own, and I can't really see it pushing the show forward for very long. It's just setting up more mystery boxes and cannibalising past elements to retain just enough interest to keep the light on in the Doctor Who department. And isn't that what Moffat used to do all the time? Isn't that exactly what we all got sick of? Is this really all we want from Doctor Who? Is that all the show wants to do now? Instead of filling it with content, Chris has filled it with canon and baiting and setups, and it comes across as desperate and like things are falling apart. Because let's put all the changes to lore and canon to one side for a moment. In terms of actual writing, The Timeless Children is dry and unengaging, even by Chris's recent standards. As I said at the start, it's 45 minutes of exposition dumping and 20 minutes of empty dialogue and characters that serve no purpose. Basically, the plot in summation, the Master takes the Doctor to Gallifrey and shows her a 45-minute long PowerPoint presentation that ends with a slide that says, "You were adopted." The Matrix story is overwritten and waffly, but I'll give it this, at least Chris has bothered coming up with a reason here for a character to be narrating what's going on screen. He doesn't have that excuse everywhere else it happens though. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I can see them. I have eyes in my face. Oh, and the scene where Graham stops the episode to describe Yaz's character for us was really quite pathetic. Please give a shit about this character, audience. Yaz has been an interesting character this whole time, we swear she has. Here's why. Let's have Graham just flat out say it for us. The Timeless Children doesn't earn any of its attempts at character moments. This thing is 65 minutes long and it mostly just consists of characters flat saying stuff about another character in a room somewhere. Like this scene here where the Master's goading the lone Cyberman and basically just spitting out fan complaints about how poorly they've been used all these years. And yeah, I get it, but what does this do for the narrative? Well, it pushes us to the point where we get cyber-converted Time Lords, and that's about it. And the Cyber Time Lords, aside from looking like something I swear I drew and posted on DeviantArt about 10 years ago, they don't do anything. I just found the Timeless Children to be so long, dull, padded, and overall pointless. So much of the dialogue is completely flat and empty, and I swear the first 20-odd minutes are just the Master going, "Things are about to change, Doctor. You're about to find out a piece of information that I'm dangling like a carrot on a stick in front of your face. No, you can't have it yet. Not until we've milked this mystery box for all it's worth." Which I've arbitrarily decided is going to be by minute 20. Is it minute 20 yet? No? Okay, time for more teasing. Woo, what is inside the mystery box, Doctor? So many of these early scenes were a complete waste of time and you could have cut them out and lost nothing.
Brace yourself. This is going to hurt.
Oh, is it, Master? Is the episode actually going to start now? Though I suppose this is a testament to how efficiently this explanation of the Timeless Child ties everything up. I hate the explanation, sure, but I was expecting this finale to be incapable of properly explaining all 900 and something mysteries of the season in just one episode, and this must do it pretty fucking efficiently if he's got time to piss about and continue goading us that you don't know what's in the mystery box yet, you don't know. Should I tell you? No, I think I'm going to keep taunting you some more. You don't know, you don't know. Yeah, alright, any kind of mystery does this to some degree, but it sounds exactly like Hellbent. In terms of narrative technique, I've been here before, and it's not compelling. It's boring and incredibly irritating. Oh, and the ending where the Doctor's supposed to go and blow up Gallifrey, isn't that just aping the War Doctor in the moment from Day of the Doctor? The only new things that the Timeless Children brings to the table are canon-messing ideas that are going to prove very controversial. So yes, it's daring and that would be a point in its favour, but it's daring in an incredibly boring way. I've no idea how the hell it's managed that, but it has. Look, let me stress here, the main reason I was pissed at the Timeless Children isn't even what it does in canon reshaping. Yes, I know that a large bulk of this video was me talking about that because it's the most obvious thing about it, but the main reason I was pissed at the Timeless Children was I was just so fucking bored by it. I like Sasha as the Master, I like the Lone Cyberman, I liked the potential of the Ruth Doctor, and they all deserved so much better than this. Hell, Season 12 as a whole deserved better than this, because I was vaguely warm about it up until now. It got me interested in Doctor Who again at a point where I was just about done with it. I made this editorial at the end of Season 11 saying I was bored with Doctor Who and had no faith in the then upcoming Season 12. But then Spyfall came out and was kind of fun, and I suddenly found myself with a lot of enthusiasm for Doctor Who again. I was invested and engaged as we went along with this Timeless Child mystery. The writing didn't really get much better, but the show actually bothered to set off some fireworks this year. And I was so happy to find myself interested again that I actually made these videos not just in a more timely fashion than usual, but at all. I originally wasn't going to bother, I was just going to do Spyfall if I could be asked and then one big video at the end of the season. But then I found myself with stuff to say about the show again and I went, do you know what? I want to make these videos, and it didn't feel like a chore to do it. I was actually caught up with the show and my He Who Moans videos at one point. That hasn't happened in years. But now though, now is the point where I'm going, I've been here before and I don't like where I can see we're plainly heading. Sure, Timeless Children has got some kind of resolution to the events of the season, as opposed to Hellbent, which just sort of gives a disinterested shrug, but I really don't like the answer we get in Timeless Children at all. And if I don't like the answer, I should at least be able to appreciate the narrative technique, but its narrative technique is just like Hellbent's. The plot is flimsy, its character moments are hollow and unearned, its dialogue is incredibly irritating and almost self-aware in places, and really, those are the bits that I prefer people focus on. I know I'm going to get essays in the comment section of this video, and I know that most of those essays are going to be people talking about the canon stuff that Timeless Children deals with, both from people who think it sucks and people who think it's good. But can we just try and stop that for a moment? Forget what this changes and how we view the Doctor and Gallifrey's past. Forget what the show might do with this in the future. Was the Timeless Children, on its own, a well-written product in your opinion? And there's no right answer to that, it's all subjective. Mine's a resounding no, because I found it to be boring, padded, overwritten gibberish that made me almost fall asleep on multiple occasions. Your turn.